Good morning. You listen to FortDaily.net, and I'm Kemp Harr. This morning, my guest is Colin Burry, who's a principal with Gensler San Francisco and a recent inductee this year into the Interior Design Hall of Fame. Colin, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great.
You know, I interviewed you back in June and asked you how interior designers like you work Neocon. That was a very popular interview. So I had called you a couple of weeks ago to do an interview about why people go to New York to the Hall of Fame Awards and the Best of Year Awards. And I was going to do a similar interview, and then come to find out you went this year to pick up an award, didn't you?
I did, yes. Thank you. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
Congratulations. Just a little background, Colin. You've done interior design work for some of the largest technology companies in the world. You've worked for Apple, Pixar, Nokia. You did design with Autodesk that won our Visions Award this year, first place, and so you and I were in Boston together back in September. So you've got some pretty nice projects under your belt. One of the things that our listeners might want to hear is a little bit about your background. You grew up in Canada,
yeah.
And I guess as a teenager you were also an ice skater, weren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, in Canada, I think, growing up, you were either a hockey player or a figure skater. Uh-huh. And normally most of the girls figure skated and the boys played hockey, but for whatever reason, I chose to do figure skating. And I think I've always sort of had an attraction towards things that are artistic and creative, and so I've been really fortunate to kind of find the ability to do both, being an interior designer.
All right, so I guess at an early age, 19, you went to L.A. Did you start studying interior design at that point?
Yeah, it was sort of funny because my dad always joked that I was majored in party before I actually found interior design. But, I was doing general education up in Canada, and then actually at the suggestion of my mom, moved to L.A. to study interior design because she always thought that for whatever reason I had that capability. And I literally went from being an A student in the classes that I liked and a C student in the classes I didn't like to being, a straight A student on the honor roll, pretty much overnight. So, I'm sort of forever grateful that my mother made that suggestion because I really found my calling and my passions. Mm-hmm. For those that don't listen to their parents, this is a good example of when we should.
So after you got your degree and you moved and joined Gensler in San Francisco, you've done some pretty amazing work. How is it that these projects have come about? They just tapped Gensler, and as an added bonus they got you, or did you build a reputation within Gensler? Or talk about that if you would.
Yeah, that's a really great question because I think, one of the smartest things I did, if not the smartest thing I ever did in my career, was coming here and joining Gensler, and they've really given me a platform to kind of do my thing. And I think that's the amazing thing about the organization is even though we have many people and, many diverse types of clients, we really have the opportunity to be very entrepreneurial and find our own work if that's what we choose to do. And so, I'm maybe a little unusual in the sense that, I'm both a designer and then also, do my own kind of business development. And Apple was basically a referral. Pixar was a referral and a relationship that I had for a long time. So most of my work is word of mouth, or like I'll say the Autodesk project was actually a project manager that I met on Nokia who then moved on to work at Autodesk, and she brought us over to work with them. And so I love that because I kind of know what I'm getting into. I think they know what they're getting into, and that baseline trust that a client and a designer need is already there.
Mm-hmm. You said in the beginning of one of these videos I recently watched that indeed you're passionate about the art of design, but you even take it a step further. You feel like that if you do the building the right way, the interior the right way, you can influence the thinking. That sounds almost like something Steve Jobs would say.
Well, actually, I learned a little bit of that from him because, he was sort of like, it sounds funny, but like kind of a design dictator, and really believed that, and I think Pixar is a really good example. He only provides one set of restrooms, and they're near the center of the building, and all of the kind of community functions are there as well. And the goal there is to pull these animators and other people who have a tendency to be a little introverted and a little shy, kind of out of their little dark hovel and out into community spaces where they gain a sense of culture and a connection with everybody, and then all the magic that kind of happens with people bouncing ideas off of one another. And so, yeah, I would say that that's a really simple example of where space can really influence and affect behavior. And, that's something that I'm really passionate about, is trying to do that in every opportunity that we have. It's one thing to make it pretty and beautiful and to reflect the brand of the organization, but I think it's a deeper thing to make it a really great place to work and for people to be happy and for the space to be intuitive and not in their way of doing their job.
I was amazed when we were together in Boston. I just threw out kind of rather flippantly that Dr. Dolby had just passed away, who was quite an innovator in the whole audio sound environment. And come to find out that they're a client of yours also, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually one of the clients we have currently.
Uh-huh.
We're doing a new headquarters for them here at 1275 Market Street. They bought a building in what's called the mid-market region, which has been kind of downtrodden for a while and a little bit ignored by the city and its inhabitants. And, there's a lot of focus on the area at the moment, regentrifying and revitalizing into kind of a business and an arts center. And so the fact that they're going into this building and helping with that revitalization is a really big deal. And it's a fascinating project because they're just brilliant scientists. And so much of what we do is affected by acoustics and the right kind of acoustics or whatever. So it's been a really interesting kind of learning opportunity, I think, for both sides, because I think that we're going to be much stronger workplace designers at the end of this, when we finish, because of all the intelligence that they kind of bring around how people are sensitive to acoustics and the other kinds of things that we need to be thinking about.
Well, that's got to be fascinating. Okay, so one of the reasons is just to pick up what I had originally called you for, I'm sure that you've been going to this week in New York where Interior Design Magazine throws these awards for several years. Why do you go every year?
I've actually gone now for about probably 12 or 15 years, something like that.
Right.
And if I remember correctly, the first time that I went was actually because we won a Solutia Doc Award, and I'd never been and was just kind of blown away with the whole experience. Solutia took incredible care of us. They had a wonderful award ceremony, and then they kind of topped up the whole event by taking everybody to the Hall of Fame at this huge long table that they have with all the award winners. And I was kind of blown away because it was like every interior designer that sort of made a name for themselves was at this event and being honored, and it kind of blew me away. And, I always sort of sat there in my seat watching, these incredible people that were doing their presentations and getting inducted and kind of wondered what if. And, fast forward many years later, it was a major dream come true for me.
Yeah, and when you look at the people that have won these, generally I think people are a little bit older than you. Are you the youngest person to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm actually not sure. So yeah, I don't know.
I know Arthur Gensler. He started the firm you work for. He was in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was inducted quite a few years ago. He was probably, the youngest for all I know because he had so much success at such a young age. But yeah, it's an incredible honor to be in the same company as folks like him and Margot Grant Walsh and Tony Harbour and the many, many others that, have had the honor of being inducted from Gensler.
So back to the question, I guess you go every year because it's like eye candy. You get to see all these projects thrown up on the screen, right? It's inspirational.
Absolutely. I'd say, one of the things, and I think, being in Boston with you and the other designers for the Ford Focus Awards,
right.
One of the things I love about that is the opportunity to meet with other designers. And I'm always blown away how, even though we're total and complete strangers, suddenly we're all instantly friends. And I think that's because there's this sort of common platform upon which, that we're all kind of very passionate about. And I would say, when you attend the Hall of Fame and hear what these people have to say, even the night that I was inducted and the other three people along with me, when we were all radically different in our approach and attitude and who we were and what we believed in as designers, but there was this instantaneous connection that we all had and passion for design that kind of broke down those kind of typical barriers that I think exist amongst humans, and it's just an amazing experience. So I go because of that. I go to get inspired at the Hall of Fame itself, and then the next night it's like a design orgy because Best of Year, she has 5 or 6 finalists in every category, and I don't even know how many categories there were, like 30 or 40 or something like that, and it's just like boom, 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 seeing image after image after image of all the best work in every single category you can think of, from kitchen and bath to offices to tech spaces to hotels to, you name it, from really literally around the world. And so it's a great way to kind of get your finger on the pulse of what's going on. And, of course, Cindy Allen is an amazingly brilliant person, and there is no better person to be the voice of our community and sort of the curator of what's going on in the world of design. And she's, I think, done more for breaking down the walls between all of us that exist between all the different sort of practice areas within interior design than really anybody else.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Okay, that's great. Well, I guess my last question is, so what's next?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm taking a couple of weeks off here over the holidays, and I'm typically a very kind of goal-driven person. So I guess I have two, options ahead of me. One is just to sort of see what happens, or leave it to chance, or the other is to kind of set some new goals for myself. And I think that's definitely in the cards because that's just sort of how my brain thinks. But
now that
hopefully just to continue to do great work with great clients, and be rewarded and fulfilled, and get up every day loving what I do.
Yeah. Well, now that you're a Hall of Famer, do your rates go up?
My Dolby client actually joked about that yesterday. We told them, they're going to double. No.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, not yet.
Okay, Colin. Thanks for spending time with us. Again, been talking to Colin Burry, who was this year inducted into the Interior Design Hall of Fame, and he's a principal at Gensler in San Francisco, and you've been listening to Kemp and FloorDaily.net.